Good afternoon, everybody. If you are here watching the replay, we are here today with a lunch and learn with Go Guardian, and we are so excited to have Natalie here. She's local to us. We just found out from Kansas City, so we're going to learn a little bit more about her and her organization. We're so thankful to have them as sponsors this year for 2026 Moses, which is coming up soon. We got about a week and a half, ladies, I think is our countdown. So we're excited to have them join us. Here in the next couple weeks and excited to learn more about them. But we'll kind of introduce the people on the call just like we normally do. But I'm Jessica Gray. I am the Director of Learning Systems at Step Up and excited to be here and learn a little bit more about Go Guardian today. Sarah, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Sarah Rail, and I am a Step Up trainer and consultant, but also operations manager. And just excited to hear more about Go Guardian and the new things. I'm kind of like Jess. I've used this before as a teacher, but I know there's new and exciting things out there.
I am Sue Herrera. I'm the Director of Instructional Development and a retired principal, and I don't know much about Go Guardian. So I'm excited to listen from the lens of a school leader, but also as a consultant. So happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Natalie, we'll turn it over to you. I'll stop sharing so you can take over.
I will start my share. And like they have already shared, I'm Natalie with Go Guardian and again, a Missouri gal through and through. And I put my history here so you could see just how Missouri I am. I grew up in Raytown, Missouri, where I went all the way through middle school, graduated from Raymore Peculiar, went to school at Northwest Missouri State. So I kind of cover the whole span. And then I taught for 12 years between Independence and Liberty Public Schools. I've got my master's in teacher leadership and I was national board certified before I left the classroom. So I am born and bred in Missouri and I know a lot about what goes on here. I'm super excited and I'm just right around the corner for any schools that ever need support here. I put a lot of my focus on Missouri this year and a little bit on Kansas, but you know, us Missouri gals like to stay on this side of the state. But anyways, so that's just a little bit about me. I like to give a little context there. But when we're talking about Go Guardian, I always like to talk about the biggest trends and challenges that are facing education today. This is something that we use as a company to kind of drive our steps forward within our products and our development. And so this is something that we're noticing. And I always like to just kind of bring this to the surface to see if there are any specific trends especially from you all right now within related to Missouri learning or things that you all are hearing, any kind of areas of focus that you're really seeing or noticing for the state of Missouri?
AI is always a big one. That's
Yep.
really the biggie. Just
Yep.
keeping, I feel like a lot of the conversation is, I mean, we know like the authenticity of student work, like how do they use AI and we know it's their work and not AI work and also I feel like data share is huge. I think about that a lot, like what we're dumping in, or do we know it's secure or are we making sure we're putting not secure information into these systems and keeping student data secure?
Yeah. And it's different. It's different for every district and how they're looking to manage that. Some are blocking it completely for student use, and some are wanting no, let's teach them how to use it appropriately. So I always like to ask about that as well. And then that's a big topic. And then of course the how many tools are we using
Right.
and how much can we juggle,
Mhm.
whether it be as a district, but I always think as a teacher, like, yes, all the tools are great, but like, how do you make sure that it is being used with intention and actually applicable to what every teacher is doing? So those are the ones that I notice the most. Anything else that stands out to you?
Well, right now we're hearing a lot about funding uncertainty, and we always have staffing strain. I mean,
Yep.
it's been ongoing.
Yep. I feel that. Awesome. Well, just knowing that this is kind of in the background of everything that Go Guardian does, and we're constantly looking to update that based on customer feedback as well. And then it does kind of talk about some of the actions that we take as a company. I won't spend too much time on that now because I definitely want to give more of an overview. Now, some of you have used Go Guardian before or have heard of Go Guardian or heard of Pear Deck Learning. This is kind of a map of everything that Go Guardian offers as a company. So on the left side here, this is our digital and physical safety and productivity suite, which is more the Go Guardian side. So you'll see 5 tools that make up that platform. 2 of them are brand new this year. The other 3, the 3 on the top, Go Guardian, Admin, Teacher, and Beacon, are kind of our suite of tools that have been really strong in foundation since the company's inception. education. So GoGuardian Admin is our filtering tool. That's what's helping to kind of limit and narrow the scope of what kids are able to access. GoGuardian Teacher is more of the classroom tool that teachers are utilizing to help stay on top of what are students using in the classroom on their devices, and how can we keep that focused on learning and not on other distractions. And then GoGuardian Beacon is our early intervention related to student safety. So using our machine learning to identify when students are at risk of self-harm, violence, bullying, things like that. And it's the most customizable tool when it comes to getting the appropriate alerts out to the appropriate staff members for each district. We know every district has a different bandwidth of what they can handle and who's involved in some of that support. And so GoGuardian Beacon is really great about customizing what alerts go to what adults for which student. So it's a really great tool for getting that early intervention for students at risk. GoGuardian Discover is our newest tool, and it's really focused on monitoring and reporting on all of the tools staff and students are utilizing. How much are they utilizing it? What is the district paying to utilize it? Or if it's a free resource, is it privacy compliant? Is it in line with what the district has set for their standards related to student use and staff use and educational use and purposes? So it's really going to be focused on the usage and return on investment for districts. And again, that's a newer tool, but it has been extremely well received by districts because it's helping when you're talking about budget cuts, it's helping a district see, okay, here was the utilization for the past year. We need to dive into whether or not this is beneficial for all, beneficial for some, or none. So that's been a really popular one this year when handling some of those budget deficits. And then our GoGuardian Hall Pass tool, it actually integrates directly with GoGuardian Teacher, and it's that digital Hall Pass tool that a lot of people are moving to. It really supports the physical safety of students because there's less kind of wondering who's where in the hallway. A lot of schools are using some kind of digital Hall Pass. This integrates with our teacher tool, so it makes it really seamless for schools that are already using that teacher monitoring tool as well. And then it also has some really great data to support it when related to having a report run that tells you what students are in the hallway together. Where are we having the most issues? Maybe where do we need to reallocate our physical resources as far as SROs or counselors or hall monitors, things like that. There's a lot of reporting within there that can be run to help you kind of navigate those issues. There's emergency modes that can be implemented during drills or during lockdowns that need to, maybe it's not like a full on lockdown, but we have a staff emergency that needs to be addressed with an ambulance, and we just need students to stay out of the hall. There's a lot of indicators that can go out to teachers that way so that they're aware of when to kind of limit hall pass usage and things like that. So tons of things built into hall pass that kind of just support that physical safety environment, as well as just being aware of where students are at what time throughout the day. All of our GoGuardian tools on this side of house are integrated together in one platform. So they don't have to be, you could use one or you could use all of them. But if you're using one, two, or all five, you don't have to log in and out of different platforms. You can click a little drop-down menu to toggle back and forth between them. So it's all integrated together. A lot of the data is going to be shared, and it's compatible with different rostering systems to make it as easy as possible for a district to just use one platform instead of having to log in and out of five, if that's the case, because there are a lot of districts that will use all five of those types of tools. You'll see that both of our platforms kind of have that AI umbrella over it. And it's because we use a lot of the AI machine learning in the background. So on this side of house, that's going to be identifying some of those alerts and triggers within student searches, within the documents that they're typing and sharing, how much time they're spending on certain sites. Same thing with GoGuardian Admin and Teacher. There's going to be some of that machine learning as far as automatically recognizing blocks and automatically recognizing proxies. And then we have a new proxy blocker for games also within GoGuardian Admin. So when we talk about using AI, it's not that a teacher or a district is using AI, it's we have that working in the background to make our jobs more efficient and more easy as teachers and administrators. Within Hall Pass and Discover, some of that AI is going to be those systems prompting you, saying, hey, we noticed this student was out of class 26 times this month at the exact same time. Do you want to create a rule for that? So helping save time so that you're able to proactively handle things instead of reactively approach issues. So that's kind of a very big rundown on that GoGuardian side. As far as the Pear Deck Learning side, that's more of our classroom instruction and assessment. It's going to operate very similarly to the GoGuardian side as far as being integrated into one platform. Our peer assessment tool is a free tool that teachers can utilize even now. And it is I kind of say like our team harnessed the power of AI and turned it into a teacher tool that is able to be attached to state standards, that is able to generate content more specifically. So within that Pear Start tool, we have over 50 tools. One is like a worksheet generator. One is a lesson planner. There are morning meeting generators. So it's still using AI, but it's kind of refocused it into very specific formats with the ability to attach standards and utilize the information that you need to be kind of more academically aligned within your classroom. Instead of going to an open AI source that is pulling from all over the internet, we've kind of built our own AI tool to support teachers more efficiently and with better intention behind how that tool is creating resources. Now, Pear Start, if you're using that, it can also then generate a Pear Deck lesson, a Pear practice set, or a Pear assessment tool to then support the content that you've created. So that's kind of where the power of that Pear Start tool builds into the platform is if you are utilizing those other tools, it will generate content for you from start to finish of a lesson that will help you support not just the learning, but also the assessment at the end or the practice that takes place after the actual lesson is in place. Pear Deck that's probably our most well-known tool on the instructional side, and that's the interactive lessons. So that you can take a PowerPoint or a Google slide deck and turn it into a two-way communication tool for instruction. So while you're presenting instruction, you can have interactive slides where the students then reply on their device and you can see that data in real time. So great for engagement, great for some of that formative assessments that takes place while you're instructing to decide, do I move on or do I need to reteach something before moving on? And there's multiple types of slides that can be supported in the interactive format, from multiple choice, typing a response, drawing on student slides, lots of options there. Pear practice is more of a collaborative or independent practice set that can be given to students to practice the skills from a lesson. That can be done in kind of a gamified format at a class level. You can put students in teams. You can also have them complete practice sets independently. So a lot of options there for how you can use what you've instructed on to then put into a practice set for students. The more they practice, the more points they earn. There's little like games that they can do within that to kind of incentivize them to do more practice. Some of those sets can be teacher assigned. There is some content already created that teachers can utilize, or there's kind of what we call like a replay section where it will put up content that was taught maybe a month ago to help give some of that circular practice throughout the year, and students can just earn more points for practicing more. So lots of different ways a teacher can utilize that based on what they need related to that practice set. My two favorite, I'm a assessment and data nerd myself. So the Pear assessment tool is our digital assessment tool, and it pairs with Data Studio. So Data Studio is an add-on to Pear assessment that can be used at the district level where you can bring in additional data like behavioral data, attendance data, and then pair that with the assessments you're giving in Pear assessment to get a full picture of student data and information. Our Pear assessment tool is just a digital assessment tool. However, it can be used with any curriculum platform, and that's what I like the best. You can create your formative assessments as a teacher. I can do a daily check-in assessment as a teacher. I can do larger summative assessments, but as a district, you can create your CFAs to be given on Pear assessment that are then automatically graded, and then the data is shared with relevant parties. So a teacher could have just a Pear assessment account for themselves. A building could have it, which then means that principal would have access to all the student and teacher assessments that are given without the teacher having to upload their scores into a Excel doc and then share that doc with the principal so the principal can compare, every grade level's data and information. All of that's done for you within Pear assessment if you have that building level license. And then if you step up and do an enterprise license at the district level, the district then would have visibility to any assessments given within each building and each classroom in order to better compare that data across different sets, buildings, grade levels, all of that type of thing. So that's a really long-winded explanation of all of our tools. But I'm going to click through and just show a couple other things and some highlights. This deck that I'll share does have short snippets and videos for each tool. So if somebody, heard one that they're the most interested in, they can go in and then find just that tool within the slide deck, watch the video, look at some of the highlighted slides as well. Any questions on this as far as like the company as a whole?
I don't have questions, but I'm there's so much here. So
Mhm.
I feel like my experience with Go Guardian was the teacher side, where I could block their screens when they weren't doing what they were supposed to, or send the note to say, hey, get busy. And so
Yep.
I just think it's great how much more there is to offer and how it kind of all encompasses together. So this was really informative and very neat to see that you guys have so much to offer.
Yep. I feel like this is where I end up spending the most of my time on any kind of lunch and learn or like introduction because they either know Pear Deck or they know Go Guardian Teacher. And there is a lot more to it. And from my perspective, like one of the things that I've talked to the past districts I've worked for is like sometimes you just don't know what's available. So I always end up spending more time here because it gives you that full picture.
It's so great. Yeah, and she was referencing the slide deck too. If you're watching the replay, we'll link that into our network down below in the comments. So you'll be able to go through and watch those if you've got any of those that they want to see.
Yep. Thanks, Jessica. The other thing I always like to mention is Go Guardian has been in the protecting students business for over 10 years. So when other people are talking about how they're recently using AI, that's really something Go Guardian has been doing for 10 years, utilizing and building on the platform and how AI can be used in the background of our tools to make things more efficient and easier, and not in a way that is causing teachers or principals or districts to have to utilize an AI tool, but how we have it running and working on our behalf. And then our entire platform has always been built from the beginning with student privacy in mind. So we are compliant with most all state standards as far as when you're thinking of like COPA compliance or any of the student privacy laws. All of that is built. Every tool that we have is built with that privacy and compliance in mind. And we've been doing it for years. It's not new for us. We do work on every system when it comes to devices. In the past, it has been kind of a misconception that we don't work well on Windows, but that has been completely brought up to par. That was true of us a couple of years ago, but now we work great on Windows devices. We work great on Microsoft. We work excellent on MacBooks. So that's just something we like to point out because some districts may have not utilized or talked to work with Go Guardian in the past because of that. But at this point in time, we are fully compliant and able to work on all of those devices. And then again, we talked a little bit about leading with student privacy and responsible AI. This just kind of outlines some of those certifications that Go Guardian holds to kind of allow schools to move forward with confidence that we've got that part covered for them. And then, of course, AI, we've kind of begun to outline AI more specifically in all of our slides because that is more top of mind for districts. So all the things that we're doing and the way that we're using AI, again, is more going to be running in the background on behalf of schools. And then that's what's going to be allowing you to proactively take action and kind of organize your resources appropriately. And we know that screen time piece is a common topic. We know a lot of states are coming out with screen time rules. A lot of our data and insights that are provided within any of our Go Guardian platform tools is going to include information on how much a student is using a screen or a device. So depending on the tool that you're using, a lot of that will be included somewhere in the reporting for you. And then this is where we kind of jump in. I know the slide deck will be able to be viewed, but this is where we kind of jump in and go product by product, where your teachers and anybody watching this meeting back can go through and kind of learn about each tool individually. So I have a section for, Go Guardian Admin, that filtering tool. There's a video summary, and then it's going to go really explicitly through some of the pieces and tools that we've updated. A lot of schools are working with a BYOD environment lately. We talk about how we can work in that environment, as well as with any student-owned devices. It's also going to walk through recent product and innovations more specifically. So within GoGuardian Admin, we have, I know I mentioned some of, maybe I didn't mention it yet, but we do have proxy blockers and proxy for game blockers that are running actively. And if you want to know how effective those are, you can view these student comments that have been pulled from Reddit by our company. So students always get frustrated when we put out anything that's a new proxy blocker because it's immediately gets to go to work for the teachers. So we include some bits and pieces like that throughout the slide deck for all of the tools. And each one of those will be visible based on what the district and schools need. So I have a lot of that in here. I don't want to go product by product because I just want to make sure that you have the resources available, but that we kind of did a larger overview. Is there any tools that you heard of that you feel like are going to be most relevant to any of your schools?
I was really thinking the assessment side of Pear Deck.
Mhm.
I'm interested to see, you had mentioned CFAs. That's a big deal. Trying to organize that information and streamline it to where teachers can take the data and actually have conversation. What do we do with it now? So if you want to talk a little bit about that, I know we would have a lot of clients that would be interested in this side of things. And maybe my question is, can you have Pear Deck and not have GoGuardian, right? Like, are they, you can
Yep.
pick and
Each of
choose kind of.
You're exactly right. Each of the 10 tools that we talked about can be utilized independently. So you can just get one tool. If that assessment tool, it's our fastest growing tool right now. And part of that is because it doesn't matter what curriculum you're utilizing, you can still utilize this assessment tool. We know that other people, I say curriculum, I should say resource. We know the state standards are the curriculum, the resources. So it doesn't matter what resource you've purchased as a district, you can utilize those assessments within our platform. You can upload your own assessments. We do have some assessment conversion options when it comes to, again, utilizing AI that helps us convert assessments into a digital format. We also have a team that can help support with the creation and uploading of assessments. So those can be created in a variety of ways and then given out on this platform. I even used it as like my end of the day quick check where I was doing a post-it note with a quick math problem, but then I'm holding all of the post-it notes at the door and I have to grade them and I have to input the data. I did flexible math groups. So I would do that at the end of every day and then I would check the answers and like rearrange them to my groups. Pear assessment grades everything for teachers and then has multiple different views of that data. So when we're looking at some of the things that they can do, it can use AI to generate questions, or you can go in and manually create questions. We do have Pear assessment certified items already uploaded to the platform, and that's going to include any state or federal released items that have been given out in the past. So you can just go in and it's like you find the items you want, you click a plus sign that says add to test, and then you can create your own assessment that way. We also have test banks that can be shared. So if I'm a teacher creating a test or an assessment, I can choose to keep that private to myself. I can choose to post it for other people in my district to utilize, or I can make it public. So a lot of teachers make their content public, and then you can go search the standards, the topics, the curriculum, the resources that you are utilizing, and then kind of spot check it so you're not having to create things from the very beginning. So that's available as well. Item banks, test banks. I always like the Pear Assessment Certified because it's going to be something that's already related to the state test that I'm going to be administering. And then the other awesome piece is we can change the interface of your assessments to match your state test. So instead of my fourth graders being surprised at the end of the year with what does the MAP test look like, you can give every assessment in Pear Assessment so that it looks like the MAP test related to format, font, color scheme, all of that. So it's not a surprise or a lack of comfort that would stop them from being successful or making them feel more anxious during that testing time period. So that's super popular as well. It'll do that for the SAT, ACT, and for state assessments. So that's always an option. Teacher favorites, it doesn't show this on our recent product innovations, but all of the test settings that you can customize as well. You can time your tests. You can allow, if it's a formative assessment, you can allow them multiple attempts on a question with a prompt. So let's say it's a math assessment for my fourth graders and I give them one attempt and I can put in an automatic reminder that says, don't forget the strategy that we practiced during this lesson, try again. And then they get one more chance to then engage with responding to that question. So lots of different ways to customize your assessments within peer assessment. We also have an immersive reader that will do some language translation of questions for you if you are looking to, if you're wanting to evaluate on that specific content and not can they read this assessment, that's an option for students as well. So many things within here. I'm trying to think what else. There's shuffling the questions, shuffling the answer choices. So if you're giving a digital assessment, it's going to look different for every student. So lots of anti-cheating, lots of ability to lock them into an assessment. There's a kiosk mode option if you're wanting them to maybe rotate through your desk for an assessment. You can set that up so different students can log in. So many ways that you can personalize and customize this for whatever your classroom building or district needs there. You'll see that it mentions instant message packages on this particular slide that we're looking at, and that kind of goes along with that Pear Start piece. So if I go to Pear Start and I create a collaborative learning project, and then I say create an assessment to match that, then you already have an assessment ready to go at the end of it. And then you can just open it up, scan it really quickly to make sure, it complies with everything you're needing it to for the lesson. And then that's going to generate it for you as well. And then that data studio piece, like I said, that's more of a district. Some buildings use it. It's more of a district level tool where you want to bring in additional information. And a lot of the districts that utilize that, like I worked with the state of New Hampshire last year, and they had purchased Data Studio for the entire state. And so that is more a larger scale tool, but it is available if you're wanting to upload different pieces of data to then compare to your assessments. And with Data Studio, a lot of people will upload their state testing data, iReady data, things like that. And then you're also able to adjust some of the performance bands and things like that to more align with what you need for your building and your district. So lots of pieces to that. I talk about peer assessment more than anything else because I love it so much, and it saves quite a bit of time for teachers and principals.
Well, and it's great that you can incorporate other assessments you're utilizing too with that data dashboard. I love that.
Yes.
We're already giving so many. It's great to put it all together. And how does it read together? I think that's a big missing piece. It's hard to kind of jump from one to the next, but I love that they can have it all in one place. Just listening to all the things you're talking about, I know we're going to have clients that are like, we need this, because that in my mind, I'm thinking this is just such a great organization tool, and a quick way to get them the exposure, like you said, to those map question items. We talk a lot about that with our clients. We can't make it a surprise. We can't wait till February to show them. It's great to be able to do it all year. So I love that's a possibility. This is just so cool. So many things I didn't know existed. So it was great to hear about these. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
So really you answered a lot of it, because I was going to ask, how can GoGuardian really help support instruction rather than just compliance and monitoring? And I was familiar with the Pear Deck, and I use that, and I love, like you said, the student engagement. The level of that totally increased when I used Pear Deck, and I love that formative assessment information. But yeah, my mind is spinning now if I would have had the Pear assessment with that, because of, like you said, differentiation and doing your small groups, the next day instead of doing the sticky notes, because that was me too, trying to figure out which group were they going to be in the next day. So I think you hit on a lot of great things. And just like Jessica said, I think our clients, definitely we do a lot with assessment, and that it can be state aligned. I think that's great. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. The last thing I'll mention is there is a Pear Deck connection in GoGuardian Teacher now too. So within GoGuardian Teacher, you can launch a Pear Deck without having to go into a different tool. And just to drop it in, GoGuardian Teacher now also has student groups. So if I'm wanting to differentiate digitally, I could have like 3 students that are only allowed to access 2 websites for a assessment, and then a different group that's working on a fluency game or activity, and they only have access to 3 URLs. So you can differentiate the digital resources on their device, much like you would with anything else in the classroom. And that piece of GoGuardian is huge for me, because in our digital world, like, how do you make sure that what they're doing is intentional and effective? So
That's awesome. Well, Sue had to hop off, but she had very similar thoughts. She dropped those in the comments, but she can see applications for our districts that we work with from the hall passes, student success committees. We've so often want to focus just on academic, but you saying, hey, it also pulls in that behavior and attendance. That's huge. We got to know that stuff when we factor those things in. So I love that it's all in one place. Well, Natalie, I am so glad that you joined us today, and we are so excited to have you guys at Moses. Who's coming, Natalie, to Moses?
Oh, it's me. It's me.
Yeah,
They were
this is great. It's local. Mhm.
Yeah, and somebody messaged me and said, "Did you book your travel?" And I'm like, "I live 15 minutes away from the location,
Yep.
so I
This
will
is
be
so
good."
great.
Yeah.
This is so great. Well, we're so
Yep.
thrilled to have
Me
you,
too.
and we hope all of you watching come see Natalie at Moses and come see us. There's going to be lots of great things. I know we're going to be talking a lot of assessment, so I'd say you're going to have a lot of people stopping by your booth to
That's
talk a
my
little bit
goal.
about that assessment. So
I'll be
it's going to
ready.
be great. It's going to be a great day of learning. But
Awesome.
Natalie's information is going to be again paired with our network thing, and we'll send all that stuff out to Natalie for them to be able to contact you and the slide deck. So that'll all be within the network when we repost the replay. But
Awesome.
thank you again for joining us.
For having me.